Today, I'd like to talk to you about prayer, particularly the spiritual practice of breath prayers. In his book to the Thessalonians, Paul urged us to pray without ceasing. Well, what does that mean? We know it can't mean babbling on with many words because Jesus told his disciples that there was no need of that, since our Father in heaven knows what we need before we even ask. So, how do we pray without ceasing? Well, centuries ago, an unassuming monk named Brother Lawrence taught the world how to practice the presence of God. And in case you're wondering if this monk practiced God's presence in his monastery cell on his knees, you'd be mistaken, because Brother Lawrence spent most of his days in the kitchen peeling potatoes. But he learned to turn his heart and his mind towards God. He writes, "I have found that we can establish ourselves in a sense of the presence of God by continually talking with Him." Breath prayers are one way to continually talk with God or to pray without ceasing. It seems that this invitation to pray without ceasing is more about living in a posture of prayer than it is about babbling on with many words. So breath prayers are short prayers of the heart, a way to turn our minds to God and come into an awareness of God's presence. God is always with us. This practice simply reminds us that we are in God's presence always. A breath prayer can be said in a breath whenever we are in need of focusing our hearts on God. It can be said in the grocery line, in traffic, when we're exercising or doing chores, or simply when we need help in a hurry. Breath prayers just remind us that we are with God and God is with us. Generally, a breath prayer includes the name of God and a petition, and we breathe in as we say God's name, and then breathe out as we pray our petition. For instance, the earliest breath prayer from our Christian heritage is, "Lord, have mercy." And so we breathe in on the name of God, Lord, and we breathe out as we pray our petition, "Have mercy." A breath prayer can also be a reminder of who God is and whose we are. Martin Luther prayed, "I am yours. Save me." Brennan Manning, author of the Ragamuffin Gospel, prayed, "Abba, I belong to you." A breath prayer I often pray is the famous prayer of Julian of Norwich, prayed when not many things were going well in the world. "All will be well. All will be well. All manner of things will be well." Another prayer is to remind ourselves of God's presence from the Psalms. "Be still and know." Often people find that they've been praying a breath prayer for years. But in case you haven't got a breath prayer and you would like to find this prayer of your heart, here's an exercise. Listen to this passage from the Gospel of Luke 18. Find yourself in this passage as the blind man. As Jesus approached Jericho, a blind man was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard the crowd going by, he asked what was happening. They told him, "Jesus of Nazareth is passing by." He called out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Those who led the way rebuked him and told him to be quiet. But he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and ordered the man to be brought to him. When he came near, Jesus asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" "Lord, I want to see," he replied. And Jesus said to him, "Receive your sight. Your faith has healed you." Imagine yourself, the blind man, and Jesus standing before you. Jesus asks the blind man, and he asks you, "What do you want me to do for you?" You see, Jesus knew what the blind man needed, that he needed to see, but he wanted the blind man to name his need. And in the same way, Jesus asks you to name what you need. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asks you. Respond to Jesus' question. Don't edit or polish your answer. Simply tell Jesus from your heart what you need. Next, form this desire into a short phrase and combine it with the name of God: Jesus, Lord, Abba. Try to keep your prayer short enough to breathe it in and out, short enough to remember it. And then practice your breath prayer during your devotional time, and then take it with you throughout the day. Lord, have mercy. Abba, I belong to you. All will be well. All will be well. All manner of things will be well. Praying without ceasing doesn't mean babbling with many words, but living in a posture of prayer. Breath prayers are one way that we can be reminded that we are in God's presence. He is with us always.